Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for tuning in once again to my weekly guitar blog. It is April Fool's Day, April 1st, 2012. And this time around, we're going to head over to Winter Park, Florida, where Steven wrote in and he asked, I've got good news and bad. I've just gotten together with a group of guys and we're jamming on Saturday afternoons. That's the good news. The bad news is I'm getting a lot of flack to do with my rhythm guitar playing. Could you suggest some common rock rhythms I should be perfecting to get better? Thanks from Steven in Winter Park, Florida. Well, thanks for writing in, Steven. You know, jamming and keeping good time obviously go hand in hand. So in order to nail the foundation of rock guitar, which I believe we'd all agree is solid rhythm playing, you'll need to work on perfecting your sense of timing. And what I'll do here in this video lesson is describe a few popular rhythm guitar grooves that I think once mastered will definitely improve your chops for controlling the rhythms that you'll find in future rhythmic patterns as you learn more songs for your band. Well, I have three examples that I'd like to cover with you. The first example is very straightforward. Before we get started into it, I just want to also mention it's really important to go and turn on a metronome or a drum machine or have a drum loop, something that you can play against that has 100% accurate time so that you can practice building your internal sense of rhythm. That is just crucial that you have that going on. Now, the first example, like I said, it's really straightforward. It's in key of E, more or less here. It's pretty simple. 1-4-5 riff, and it's a boogie woogie, real straightforward eighth notes. Anybody should be able to jump on this thing and get going on fairly quickly. I'm going to play it very straight and even eighth notes to get started with, and then we'll talk about something different. We can also approach this thing from another angle. Anyway, okay, so here it is. Example number one, straight eighth note boogie woogie idea, kind of like Chuck Berry, Led Zeppelin, even the Beatles have used this. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. Okay, now that was really straight the way I played it. I told you I was going to do it another way though. And the other example is going to be sort of like a shuffle swing feel. It's going to take on a little bit different accent this way. The meter to change a little bit. Okay, so here's a little bit different approach. Exact same set of chord changes and progression. Here we go. So you can tell that swung a little bit more. It's called a shuffle rhythm. Research it a bit online if you're not 100% familiar with what shuffle or swing is all about. Okay, let's move on to example number two, where in this one we approach a scratch pattern idea. It's kind of like a Kurt Cobain approach. Something you'd hear in a Nirvana tune, or even bands like Smashing Pumpkins will use it. We're going to start off with a quarter note on the first chord, and there'll be an eighth note idea here where we scratch the second half of the eighth note. So we'll have on the beat of 2, we'll have 2 and, so we'll have that scratch idea there. Let me play through the progression for you and give you an idea what this thing sounds like. Here we go. Here's example number 2. So pretty driving feel, very common of that eighth note pulse on the 2 and 4 with quarter notes on 1 and 3. All right, let's move on next to example number 3. This idea takes on some chord changes here, and it's going to sound something more like a Tom Petty song. I mean, you may have heard maybe Keith Richards do something like this, or definitely maybe along the lines of Neil Young. So anyway, here's the third example, much more of a chording concept. We have a dotted quarter note, and then on the upbeat of 2, we're going to have an eighth note, and then we'll change chords. But otherwise, from that point on, the feel will remain the same. So the feel is basically a dotted quarter note with an eighth note on the upbeat of 2 and 4. So here we go. Here's example number 3. 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and... Whether you're developing rock rhythm guitar chops, jazz soloing, or you feel like you need to get better at performing finger picking style, most of the time you can build a solid foundation and overcome your initial problems by mastering just a handful of common riffs, licks, or patterns centered toward the style or the technique that you need to get better at. It can take time to source out material, but if you have a decent guitar teacher, they'll be able to cut out hours of the work for you in sourcing out practice examples that fit the bill correctly. Anyway, once again, that's about all the time I have for today. As always, I hope these explanations help you. Thanks for watching. Have yourself a great week, and I'll catch up with you next time. Bye for now.